Hello, this is Milton Kane. I'm the President of the Christians for Community. As I look out on the federal government at this present time, here I see them vacillating over this whole bill about the Disinformation and Misinformation bill. This bill is about trying to censure what people believe to be true and what people believe to be not true. Many times this has been done in the past. We had the horrid regime of South Africa based upon an apartheid story where they believed that the black African was substantially an animal. They accepted the theory of evolution to the point where a black person had not evolved to the same extent as a white person and therefore could not be afforded equal rights. And yet in the past in Australia, terra nullius did in fact assume that the Aboriginal people were not really people. We have many problems caused because of such decisions. The best protection to have about the truth is to allow freedom of speech. Because in the end, the truth will out the lie. And that's exactly how it happens. I come from a farming community originally, and we had fences for various reasons. The important thing was that the fence was to be put on a good foundation or it would collapse. May I suggest to you the best defence and the best foundation for a fence is to have something in our education system which we currently do not have. That is the study of the elements of logic. When you actually study the elements of logic, what you do is you have a look at all of the things that you have before that you want to examine. You break it down to its smallest component and then you build it up. Over the years, we have considered various things to be the smallest component. And then when somebody came up with a theory that there was something smaller, they were not believed. Until, of course, they could establish it. But if you actually have this disinformation and misinformation bill put into place, the accepted information would be the totality of the information. Could you imagine going into an operating theatre these days with unsterilised equipment? And yet, when those that supported the idea of cross-contamination being an essential problem for why there was rampant disease in hospitals, they were cried down. Florence Nightingale was one person who was told that she didn't know what she's talking about. And yet today, you would not dare go from one patient to the next using the same utensils without washing your hands and having those utensils fully sterilised. We know what it means. Knowledge is something that develops over time. One of the most important things is that we need to keep knowledge clear of restrictions so that the truth will out the lie. Imagine the world being flat. Imagine the world being the centre of the universe. Even though 500 BC, it was determined that the earth was a sphere in some form, while not fully understood. Many years later, those that would try to bring that theory, they were downplayed, decried, and actually, quite frankly, they were treated appallingly by the elite of the time. The whole point about having universities is about a place where you have open and free study, where you examine all things. Of course, many people are going to come up with ideas that are wrong. Let the truth over time out it. Only with a good fence of freedom of speech can we out the lie. Desperate governments that are having trouble selling their story of what they believe the truth is at any given time will carry on about wanting to have a restriction based upon what people can say. we actually have a very significant and substantial financial problem in this country, where we have people who are virtually unable to afford a family home. And yet we have the economic theory of the day speaking about what affordable housing is. And basically what they're suggesting is affordable housing is in fact offering houses at 10% below what others in that market are. And therefore we will call those ones, as long as there's 15% in that development, we'll call them affordable, irrespective of the price. And yet affordability must come down to the very simple basic fact of how much disposable income a person has. And that is not being considered. And when one would stand up and say something like that, they are decried. They are shouted down. They are told they don't know what they're talking about. That's impossible. Yes, it can be impossible under the current circumstances. But we need to have a look at those things. There are many things we do not understand about our world. The arrogance that would lead a person to believe that they actually have the whole truth, the arrogance of that is an enemy of freedom. It's the enemy of the people. Dictators come from such arrogance. If you believe at any point of time that you are the ultimate authority on that which is true and that which isn't true, you have set yourself up as a man-made God. And I'm sorry, we don't want such things. I have no apology, I place no apology about being a Christian who actually believes in the God of the Bible. And yet there are many people who will read that very same book and come up with a different idea of whom that God is. And am I going to object to that? Definitely not. Because so long as there is freedom of discussion, my discovery and my experience of all that God and this universe offers me is expanded, even though those people who may come up with an idea may not change the periphery of my thinking, they may well change the intensity thereof. And of course, if I am personally subject to not being able to change from what I believe today, I've stopped growing intellectually. And that I do not want to do. I believe that we need to enhance freedom. We need to tell the government, sorry, we understand where you're coming from, and we understand that you are concerned that people are going to tell you stories about things which may not be true. But you'll have to run your argument better and defend the truth to the best of your ability. Because only in defending the truth as you understand it can we set aside the lies. We need good fences. And the trouble with our world today, we are tearing down fence upon fence upon fence. And what we end up with the end is an open paddock where every person, every theory, every idea is under direct challenge and unable to be safe in any way, shape or form. I hope you understand from where I'm coming. And I hope that you will support the theories, all the theories, and allow the freedom of those theories to be put out there, so that you may carefully evaluate in your mind that which is true and that which is not. We do know that even in our court system, the truth that is established is only the probable truth. Sometimes, years later, people are exonerated We can't always know what the truth is. We need to hold on to it and protect it. Allow the lies so that the protection of the truth is there. Thank you.